Kindred Longevity Lifestyle Designers. This is Zachary with secretsoflongevity.com. I've just finished a new article that I posted on my site, and you can find the link below, and it is on pine pollen powder. And pine pollen is the seminal portion of the pine tree meant for dispersing through the air. This is how the tree reproduces and pollinates other trees as well as its own pine cones. And so basically on a pine tree there's two different types of pine cone. One is the male pine cone, one is the female pine cone, and the pine pollen comes from the male cone, which isn't what we normally think of as a pine cone. It's actually located on just the tips of the branches, sometimes in clusters, and they're thinner, longer and more phallic looking, and the female pine cones are the ones you know, that we all know of when we think of a pine cone that is sort of got the ridges and it's hard and woody, and those things open up when it's ready to fall to the ground. It has the pine seeds or pine nuts contained within it. I first became aware of the benefits of actually all the different foods and herbs that come from the pine tree, but specifically pine pollen, after reading Stephen Harry Buhner's great book, The Natural Testosterone Plan, which is a very great book if you're encountering any challenges that might be caused from a hormonal imbalance issue, whether no matter what age, but specifically it's more common as people hit what's known as andropause, which is sort of the male equivalent of menopause, when sort of the hormonal aspects of male physiology start to go out of balance at this time period of their life, which could be likened to menopause in sort of the same age bracket for men. This is largely due to just the environment we're now in today, with the saturation of phytoestrogens and also xenoestrogens, which are sort of toxic man-made estrogen mimicking compounds from plastics and pesticides, herbicides, and those sorts of things. But pine pollen isn't gender specific. It can be used by both men and women for a wide variety of issues, and it's definitely a tonic herb par excellence. In the article that I posted, I go over many of the different properties of it, and there's very little negative qualities at all. In fact, the contraindications are few and far between, and for those that do have problems with it, it's not something that's going to be present in all people. Just those people that have those problems will just have to choose different herbs, or perhaps they can acclimatize their body over a longer period of time to be able to better handle pine pollen. And those are generally people that have pollen allergy already. However, just like with other types of allergies, people can take very small amounts of bee pollen and increase the dosage to the point where they can actually overcome their allergy. And I've actually seen this happen in a few friends. It can be said that pine pollen has a similar effect in small dosages and slowly increasing over time, where you can eventually overcome a pollen allergy. And that's just sort of an intuitive approach to understanding herbalism, is if you're having a reaction to something, sometimes small amounts of it can help you overcome it. I mean, that has to be taken with a grain of salt. We're not going to go out eating a little bit of poison ivy thinking that we're going to become immune to poison ivy or something like that. But pine pollen is a very usable food when it's taken in the powder form, and when it's taken in tincture form, I definitely feel it's a little more potent on the hormonal altering and boosting side, and that might be more ideal taken for specific things and for shorter periods of time, although it can definitely be taken for longer periods of time as well if you're in need of that, because it's stronger on the androgenic testosterone enhancing side, whereas the food is much more nourishing on a deep level with its myriad of minerals, proteins, vitamins, and other phytochemicals that are going on inside of it. So you can always collect your own pine pollen, as I described in my video. Simply go out with a paper bag or any sort of bucket or anything you would collect herbs in, and put that item over the branches where there are the male cones. And they usually pollinate and start to open up and release their pollen around mid-April, depending on where you are in the northern hemisphere, that is. And definitely keep a close eye on any pine trees in your area to see when it's starting to produce. You put the bag over it and sort of shake it, and then you keep going around shaking this pollen into your bag. And you don't have to worry about over-harvesting the pollen on its own, because the trees are going to have plenty of pollen higher up. They're not going to be able to reach, so you'll be just collecting from the lower branches. But the other way of doing it actually is to go around with again, a bag or a jar and to actually cut off the whole cones with the pollen that's inside them, and take those home and tincture them. But you want to be much more careful about sustainably harvesting and not over-harvesting from any one tree. So just taking a few bunches of these male cones from just a few branches from each tree, not sort of taking out the entire lower branches and their sources of these cones. Now, if it's not the time of year for you to be able to get your own pollen, or you don't really have the time to do a lot of wild crafting, and it's just not on your at the top of your list for things you're out there searching for, if you're even searching for any wild foods at all, you can always purchase pine pollen from Sir Thrival, which I've got a link below. And they have a few great products which I'm currently experimenting with. Number one would be the pine pollen powder, which they have, which has been also had an air process where they crack the cell wall open, which enhances absorption up to 20% more. So this is a little better than something you get from the wild, and is optimized for better absorption of everything that it contains. So it comes in a 44-gram container like this, and then they also have the tinctures, which come in a dropper bar like this. They have two strengths. This is the silver, but they have the gold as well, which is a 1-to-1 extract. This is a 1-to-4 extract. So the gold is 4 times more potent, but this is a good dosage for someone just wanting to enhance their, or give a boost to their androgen levels in their body. And I would classify this as a yang jing tonic. So to bring in more yin balancing foods could be beneficial as well. And just being aware of just using the amount that your body feels best using. So how are androgens beneficial to the body? Well, first of all, I'll mention what androgens are contained in pine pollen powder, and that's actual pure testosterone that is bioavailable and bioidentical to what our body makes. And our body can use this directly when it's taken in through the bloodstream or through the digestive tract. And then there's also androstenedione, which is a compound that turns into testosterone as a precursor. Testosterone also flips back into androstenedione, and the androstenedione is an androgen, so it does fit into androgen receptors and have similar qualities to testosterone, but it doesn't bind quite as powerfully. But it can actually go to certain areas of the body, notably peripheral tissues, and where testosterone isn't so easily able to get to, and then it's converted into testosterone by enzymes that are available in those and produced in those areas, and then it feeds those areas of the body that require testosterone for those functions. So things like skin, peripheral muscle tissue benefit from androstenedione. Then there's DHEA, which is another androgen which is made in the adrenal glands and other areas of the body. And it also has a wide range of so-called anti-aging benefits. I'm sure if you just search DHEA, you're going to get a whole host of information if you want to learn more about that. And then there's another one, which is androsterone, which again is another androgen which has slightly different functions, but again all these lead to enhancing and boosting testosterone levels, if that's something that you may find beneficial. So why would we want more testosterone? Can't our body make enough, and all these things? Well, actually we're currently facing an epidemic of excess estrogens in both males and females from overproduction, like I said, and overconsumption of xenoestrogens and phytoestrogens, but also just low production of androgens from a variety of dietary and lifestyle reasons, and also psychosomatic, like your personality can reflect in what your body produces, and a lack of testosterone is going to result in less muscle mass being produced, less tissue regeneration, less ability to maintain healthy, vibrant, and tight and youthful skin. So it actually has a massive anti-aging and beauty implications in this way. And this was quite well recognized by the ancient Chinese and ancient Koreans, where women, that was their prime reason and motivation for taking pine pollen extracts and powder, because it had that beautifying effect. And it's actually known and shown to enhance and restructure collagen and elastin in the skin, which is well known to be sort of that underlying matrix that keeps our skin youthful and prevents wrinkles. So wrinkles are caused by the breakdown of collagen and elastin in the skin. Some of the other benefits of pine pollen powder in general are things like liver regeneration, lowers cholesterol to a degree. It actually lowers LDL cholesterol, increases SOD levels, which is superoxide dismutase, a common trait among many of the top tonic herbs that we have access to, increases and balances the immune system, balances the metabolism. It can bring the metabolism up if you're needing to lose a bit of extra weight. People who are in a state of having and carrying extra fat on their body are in an estrogenic state, because estrogen promotes fat production, and when you have enough androgens in the body, they just basically burn that fat off regardless of calories coming in or calories coming out. Being able to put on and actually lose fat is very much probably the number one thing you need to focus on is your endocrine health before looking at calories. Of course, by altering your calories and quality of food consumption, you're going to be changing your endocrine levels, but it's your endocrine levels which turn on your body's metabolism and different processes that actually start to target fat burning to begin to occur. It can also increase cardiovascular endurance and regulate bile production in the gallbladder. So this whole host of different properties that it can help balance in the body really show that this is a whole body tonic that actually works on all 5 organ systems from the Chinese perspective, and it really is a superfood, super herb, tonic herb that I think many people can benefit from taking. Again, if you want to check out the article that I've written recently below, it's quite a long one. I put in a lot of really good information in there. You'll learn a bit about some of the esoteric and ancient symbolism associated with the pine tree and pine cones as well, which can kind of shed some light on the whole esoteric or energetic properties of this very unique, very interesting herb. Basically, every ancient culture held the pine cone as a symbol of high regard. It's likened to be, or analogous to in shape, to the pineal gland, which in certain spiritual traditions they recognize that as being sort of what they call the third eye, which is an energetic center of the body. And the pineal gland is actually the only part of the brain that is not paired. So if you think of the brain, there's 2 hemispheres. There's 2 hemispheres of the medulla oblongata, of the midbrain, of all the different internal aspects of the brain as well. They're in pairs where they're sort of mirror images of each other and functioning side by side, where the pineal gland is this very small, almost pinecone shaped gland that is sort of a center point and actually gets the most blood flow of any part of the body. Well, actually the kidneys get just as much, if not a little more. Pineal gland gets more blood flow than virtually any other part of the rest of the body, and this kind of sheds some light on its importance and its high esteem that is placed upon it by these ancient cultures. So I got some pictures of some like Sumerian relief sculptures and other things that you might find of interest if you're wanting sort of a cultural and historical reference for the interest around pine trees in general. So like I said, if you want to learn more about this amazing superfood, check out the link below to my article and read about it. And I've also got a link below to where you can grab some from Thrival. It's just been released, and I hope you enjoy it. Let me know your experiences with it, and embrace life without limits.